Hey guys, so this is going to be a different video. We're going into fall, and you guys know that I've been in a situation where, nothing happens at the right time. It could be you go out, it's 40 below zero, it's snowing, and the battery's dead. Well, this video I'm going to show you how to do something kind of along those lines. When you go to take a shower, there's no hot water. When you go to do the dishes or whatever you need the hot water for, and there's no hot water. So I'm going to show you what I did to change the elements in the hot water tank. Keep in mind, I'm not a professional, and you should probably seek a professional for advice, but I'm going to show you basically what I did to fix the problem. Taking a look at some of the warning signs, the lack of hot water, the circuit breaker had tripped, and when the circuit breaker was reset, the water did get warm, but not as hot as it was before, telling me that one of the elements was gone. And the circuit breaker, there's a possibility if it keeps tripping that both of the elements will be gone, and it'd be a much greater problem with the hot water tank. You will need to identify your hot water tank. There'll be a sticker located somewhere on the side of your hot water heater that will show the information. The information can also be located in paperwork that was left with the water heater or that came with the water heater when you purchased it new. This information will show you the size of the tank, the wattage required, and the voltage. Taking a look on some of the items needed for this project, we'll need the heating elements themselves. I purchased two. I decided to upgrade both of them just in case the older one was about to expire or have a problem with it. You'll need an element wrench. That'll help you loosen and tighten the elements. A screwdriver, probably a Phillips and a regular. All water tanks are different, so this may vary. And the use of a garden hose, and that'll allow us to drain the hot water tank. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to get the name or the make of your hot water tank. This one is A.O. Smith. Depending on your hot water tank, be set up different. There'll be different wattages, but what they all will have is the information on the side. Let me go ahead and show you guys. The information for the hot water tank will be on the side because you may have lost the paperwork that originally came with it. You can see this one is 4,500 watts. So you can see the elements are going to be 4,500 watts. So when you go to the store, you want to get the 4,500 watt. Well, for me, the 4,500 watt. You get the wattage for your hot water tank. And I got my elements at Lowe's. And if you have any questions, you can ask the people over there. It's good to take a shot or a screenshot of the label on the side of your hot water tank. That way there you can ask them, because it's always good to consult a professional. So let me show you guys what we're going to need. Okay, so what I'm going to use, obviously we need the elements. We've got two 4,500 watt elements. We're going to need a wrench for the element. I got one somewhere, but I don't know where it is, and it was easier just to get a brand new one. You can see the fitting has the 6 sides, and it's going to go and fit right onto the element. That way there you can pull it out. We need a screwdriver. This is going to go inside of the wrench. I've got gloves because there's insulation inside the hot water tank, and I have the cordless drill with the Phillips head. So some of you guys might be wondering what the element actually is. So you got a hot water tank, and in order to get it warm, the elements heat the water. So what an element basically is you've got a type of metal, and at the end of the metal you have the screws where you're going to wire, and that's going to send a current through the element, and it's going to heat up, and it's going to heat up the water. That's basically all there is. So these are 4,500 watts. So we got the gloves, we got the wrench, we've got the cordless drill, and I've got my gloves. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so the first thing you're going to want to do, go over to the fuse box, your circuit box, and put off your hot water tank circuit. I know that the top one is for the hot water tank. So you probably don't want to waste all that hot water. So now's probably a good time if you want to go ahead and take a shower, do the dishes, or do that laundry. Maybe do all the whites to bleach it so you don't waste all the hot water. But that's the first thing you want to do, is turn off the power supply. And you want to wait till it cools off, because you want to run the water and make sure it's not getting hot, just to make sure there are no current heading through the elements, because that would be a bad thing. Okay, the next thing you're going to want to do, go to your hot water tank, and you're going to look at the pipes leaving and the pipes entering. Now you're going to look at the pipe leaving. They're probably both going to have some kind of insulation on it, but you can see the pipes. In this case, there's a red indicating the hot water that's leaving, and the blue pipe, which is the cold water that's coming in. What you're going to want to do is you're going to take the valve. This is the main valve. You want to stop or prevent water from coming in. Now, when it comes to the other side, you might notice that the water going out does not have a valve on it. Some may not. But what I'm going to do is we're going to go up and we're going to open a faucet just so that there's no pressure. So let's do that. So I'm going to turn on the hot water. And you'll notice that it stopped almost right away, even though the tank is full. What happens is there's no water coming in to replace the pressure. So now we know that when we drain the tank, there'll be no unnecessary pressure. So let's move on. So now we're going to move on to why I told you guys we were going to need a hose. Now this is the hose that I use to wash my truck with. So hopefully it's long enough. And I'll show you what we're going to do with it. Okay, so we're moving on. And now I'm going to show you where we're going to hook up the hose. You can see right down there. We're going to put the hose on. And what we're going to do is we're going to drain the tank. There's no other way to work on it. Incidentally, here is the information. Your information may be on the side, maybe on the top, maybe on the bottom, but just about all the hot water tanks have the information on it for the wattage. You can see the top and the bottom and the overall wattage. So getting back to the faucet, we'll hook up the hose. And okay, this part is very important. You got to run the hose outside. You can see you want to keep it going downhill for gravity to take its course. It's going to come in. We're going to follow it, going all the way through, and it's going to be hooked up to the hot water tank. Okay, so the hose is attached, and what I did was I put a pan to catch whatever may drip from the end of the faucet to the hose. It's nice and tight, and you can see there's no thing to turn it or twist it to open up the valve. It's actually got a slot where it needs to be done with a screwdriver. Let me show you. See right in there. So what I got to do is I got to use a screwdriver, and I'll open it up. Let's see if I can do this while holding the camera. Turn it counterclockwise. Until it doesn't turn anymore. Don't do it too tightly. But I'll show you the other end of the hose. So you can see it's coming out. And because there is kind of a vacuum, you turned off the water coming in and you opened up the faucet, but it's still going to take a little bit of it's going to take some time to get the water out. I'd say about 25 minutes to 30 minutes, and we'll check back and we'll see how much of the water has drained. All right, so it's been about half an hour. You can see it's still kind of coming down. I thought it would have been empty by now. So we can see how far down the water has drained. Because if the water line is below the element, then we can go ahead and change the top one. So let's check that. There's enough water going now where we can start doing the elements. So you can see the screw is a regular screwdriver. And we're going to take this off, and this is tough to do, holding and recording at the same time. So I'm going to show you what it looks like when we take this cap. So when you take the cap off, the first thing you'll know is that there's insulation. And the insulation helps keep everything warm. So what we're going to do is, you can see this is flapped in and it's put in between the wires. So what we're going to do now is we're going to remove, you can see, to remove, pull arrow at the top of the cove. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like. The protective cap, it snaps right in and it shows you where it'll go. When you take the cap off, you can see right where the element is. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the element leads. We can tuck the insulation in, and that's a Phillips screwdriver. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the cordless drill. Again, forgive me because I'm filming and doing it at the same time. So let's take the leads off. There. Again, I can't stress enough to make sure that the power is off. So once the leads are off, you can move the wires to either side, just like that. And now we're ready to use the wrench. And I'll show you what it looks like when you're going to take the element wrench, and you're going to see how it's going to fit right on perfectly. And I'm going to put the screwdriver in, and we're going to twist out the element. So let me, I'll show you guys what it looks like. We loosened up the element, and I wanted to show you guys what it looks like when we take it out. Now again, this is going to be hot, depending how long ago you put the power off. You can see this is probably the one that was still working because it looks intact. So let's open up the new one, and we'll put. So I want to show you the difference between the elements, the one that was in there and the brand new one. So we're going to put the new one in. And again, it's tough to do, so you got to make sure it's level so it doesn't strip. So let's put that in. I'll start it and I'll show you what it looks like. Probably a good idea to hand tighten it before using the wrench, just to make sure that it's going in smoothly. So now, let's see, where did I put the wrench? So now the wrench will fit right over it, and I'll tighten it up with the screwdriver. And I'll show you what it looks like when we're ready to reattach the wires. I tightened it in really good. Again, you don't want it to leak. So what I did was I put it tight, without breaking it, obviously, but it's tight, and then just a little extra tighten, just to make sure you can't go any tighter. So now we can take the leads, and what we're going to do is we'll put them back, and I'll show you what it looks like when we're ready to all right, so you guys see the leads are back on, nice and snug. And now we're ready to put the cap back on, the protector cap. All right, so now that we got the protector cap back on, now what we can do is we can tuck in the wires to hold the insulation in place, just like that. And now we're ready to put the cap back on. Okay, so once the screw is in and the screw is tight, the top one is now replaced. So now we're ready to move on to the bottom one. So we're going to repeat the process. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the screw, and we'll take off the cap or protection plate. Let's see if I can actually keep the camera while I do it. Unscrew the bolt all the way out. And it comes up a little bit because there's like a lip at the bottom. So that's all set. You can see this one has the ground. And we're going to do the same thing. This looks like this could be the culprit. So we're going to take off the cap, the protective cap that snaps into place. And you can see the element right in there.
So let's see if I'm able to tuck the insulation up. And now we can loosen the lead. And again, that's why I have the cordless drill. See if I can do this with one hand. Okay. Once those are loose, we can go ahead and we can take the lead off. Put it to the side. Same thing with the other side. Put it off to the side. And what we can do now is, now we're ready to put the wrench. We put the wrench on, loosen it up, and I'll show you what it looks like when the bottom one comes out. You're going to want to make sure it's still coming out a little bit, like a trickle. And I'm going to try taking out the bottom element, and hopefully the water level will be low enough where we can take the bottom. So I loosened it with the wrench, and I didn't take it out yet, just because I want to make sure the water level is low enough. I don't know if you can hear that. So it sounds like there's still just a bit of water in there. So I'm going to wait until it stops making that sound, and then I'll take out the element. Like I said, the only thing stopping us from finishing right now is the water level. If the water level is too high, obviously you pull out the element and all the water is going to come out the opening. So we're going to wait till that sound is stopped, and I'll show you guys what we do next. Okay, so it stopped making the sound. It's been a couple of minutes. So here's the moment of truth. Hopefully the water level is dropped. You can see out comes the old element. And this is the bottom one, so it's really kind of yucky. You can see right there the hole. So this one was probably the problem. So now we're ready to get the new element, and we're going to put the new one in. We're ready to take the new element. You can see we're going to put it in. Make sure it's got the washer on, or the seal. Like I said, it's a good idea to hand tighten it to make sure that it's even. Once it's hand tight, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the wrench with the screwdriver, and I'll tighten it, and I'll show you what it looks like when we're ready to reattach. Okay, so I tightened it up. Again, nice and tight. And when you think it's tight enough, try to give it one more twist so that you know it's going to be tight. And what we'll do now is we'll put the wires on. It's going to be hard to do this with the camera, so I'll show you what it looks like when the wires are reattached. Okay, so the wires are back on, and the wires are attached. So what we're going to do now is we're going to clip the protective part back on, and I'll show you what it looks like. We got the protective cap back on. So now we can bring the insulation down and fold the wire over it to keep it secure. And now we're ready to put the cap back on. So I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so we got the bottom cover, the protective cover back on. The screws don't have to be overly tightened, just to hold everything in place. So what I want to do now is the valve that we put to drain it. You guys can see. We're going to close the valve. We're going to rotate it clockwise. Till that's good and tight. There we know that's closed. And now we can take off the hose. Now when we take off the hose, remember there's still going to be water in the hose. So what you want to do is you want to start coiling it and pick up the end piece and let gravity have all the water out as you coil it along. So let's. Okay, so we remove the hose, and the valve is closed at the bottom. We got the covers on securely, and the elements have been changed. So what we're going to do now is we're going to fill the tank. Now remember, we opened up the faucets, the hot water faucets. So this will let this fill up, and we'll know it's full when the water starts coming out the faucets. So let's put the water on. And I'm going to leave the tray down there just in case. You want to make sure it's not going to drip. And when it's full, we'll move on. So you can hear, as the tank fills up, all of the air in the pipes will come out, and it'll be replaced by water. Because remember, you don't want to put the power back on until the tank's completely filled, otherwise you'll blow the elements. So depending on the size of your tank, we've got a 50-gallon tank, so it'll take a little while for it to fill up. Okay, so you can see the water's coming out. It's okay because it's a little grungy looking. Remember, there was a lot of sediment at the bottom that we disturbed. And we'll just let that run a little bit until the water comes out clear. And after a couple of minutes, it'll be clear. Okay, so we got all the air out of the lines. And there's a little bit of sediment in the tank floating around. So this will come out. We'll let it run a little while. But what I want to do is we got the air out of the lines. So let's go down and make sure they're removed. Okay, so that's a good sign. The tank is full. The water valves are open. All the air in the lines is purged. There's no leaks at the bottom. So what we're ready to do now is we're ready to put power back to the hot water tank. Okay, so now we got the moment of truth. We got the circuit breaker. You put it on. And if it doesn't pop right away, that's a good thing. That means you have no shorts anywhere. So everything is wired correctly. And we wait now until we get hot water. So this tank is about 6 years old, and we haven't had any problems up till now. You could see the element was corroded, so it was just running on one element. And of course, because it's submerged in water, if there's any kind of a short or anything happens, it's going to blow the fuse or trip the circuit. I figure as a rule, this was 6 years old, probably get I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years hopefully left in this. But I know they're not cheap, but they don't make them to last like they used to. So hopefully we get another good 4 or 5 years out of this one. Well, it's been a few minutes. I just wanted to let it clear out a little bit. And the water is already hot. Really hot. So awesome. Job well done. I hope this video helped. This is how I change the elements in my hot water tank.